Hi guys, SneakyJoy is here, and today we're going to take a look at Pimax 5K XR and 8K Plus Vision headsets and compare them to Oculus Rift and Quest, talk about Pimax as a company and see why you don't want to purchase their products. Now, before we begin, I have to say that although I don't recommend getting a Pimax headset to anyone, as there are better alternatives like StarVR and XL, I love the feeling of freedom they give me in comparison to more traditional VR headsets. I frequently use them for my gaming sessions. Here's just a small comparison for everyone wondering how a Pimax headset feels. Take your hands and arrange them as if you're looking into a binocular. Then widen them like this. This is what you see in a Pimax headset, and after seeing that VR can surround you, it's tough to go back to a limited field of view headset. But those viewing angles come at a cost. Many people complain about image distortion near the edge of the view, at the sides and top and bottom edges. I don't find them that bad myself, but people who tried early developer samples tell that Pimax got cheaper lenses for consumer headsets. Now let's talk clarity, and before we proceed, if you don't yet know the concept of PPD or pixel per degree, I recommend checking this video from facepalm to learn what it means. The vertical resolution of the Pimax headsets is 1440p for 130 degrees in vertical field of view, resulting in 11 pixels per degree. Even Oculus Rift with 102,000 vertical pixel resolution is sharper because its vertical field of view is 90 degrees, and it is at 13.3 ppd. Even if you reduce the field of view in PyTool, it improves your FPS, but don't move pixels, so the image will always be not as good as you'd like it to be. The exception is Pimax 8KX headset in 4K mode, which should be at around 16.6 ppd, but most people will not get this one due to lower frame rates and higher cost. If you're looking for a sharp image, get HP Reverb of second generation with 21.6 ppd. Just for you to compare, here are footages through the lenses of 5K XR. You can see how dirty the text and objects look like. But those are honest pixels, they don't look blurry. And if you use upscaling for them, they look a bit better, but the frame rate suffers a lot. Color reproduction is excellent, however, due to the usage of an OLED display. 8K Plus footages look different. The image is upscaled from 1440p to 4K, and it looks blurry to a point you wish you purchased 8KX headset. The text still is hard to read, and objects are still pixelated. However, in fast-paced games, this is nothing to complain about. I totally enjoyed wrecking enemies in Pistol Whip, seeing them without having to rotate my head. Still, I totally sucked in slower paced games, such as Onward, because I couldn't see enemies as far as any other player did. Here are some footages of Oculus Rift, which looks way sharper, as you can see. Text looks better, distant objects are more detailed. Even better, it's with Oculus Quest, streamed via virtual desktop. If not lower FPS, it could be the best headset I own to the moment. Pimax is a perfect budget option for racing games or flight simulators, like Elite Dangerous. I enjoyed it more than I should have, and the extended field of view gave me a significant advantage in fights. I was able to see all enemies as well as my ship's interface at the same time, moving my head around not as much as I did with my Oculus headsets. Still, the lack of clarity of the interface made me mad a lot of times. I can't stress this enough. Pimax headsets have lower actual resolution per degree than any other headset. So the bottom line here, Pimax is worse in visual clarity than any consumer headset, but better than most in field of view. Speaking of flight sims, this is one option people purchase Pimax for, and without a lighthouse base station, a headset will always drift to the left over time. Guys like Survivor tell you that it's possible to use a headset just for seated gameplay, but they never mention the frustration you have to go through having to recenter your view over and over. More than that, Pimax isn't friendly to new users. Due to how rendering is implemented, there are several options you can enable. If you choose the wrong ones, either your view will be messed up, or shadows and reflections won't render appropriately for one of your eyes, causing discomfort. Since one eye sees those effects but another doesn't, it causes a weird feeling of unsatisfaction. Each game has its own recommended settings, and you have to set them in PyTool software and launch games through PyTool, which doesn't have proper search nor is convenient to use. Pimax promises to create a Pimax Experience app which will have automatically delivered recommended settings for each game, but we're not there yet, and you will most likely prefer not to launch new titles in your headset to avoid frustration of spending 40 minutes trying out different settings for a new game every time. At least this is what I found myself not doing as much as I'd like to. There is also such an option as Variated Rendering, which is excellent on paper and is available on RTX video cards only. It reduces resolution to the edge of your FOV, not covered by the sweet spot of the lens. It's supposed to improve frame rates, but I didn't notice any significant difference with it and without it for absolute most games. It only made it harder to read text on the periphery of the vision and forcing me to rotate the head to check it. Not something I got those headsets for. Even worse, this effect in some games is applied to the left eye and isn't applied to the right eye. I was unable to run it properly in Elite Dangerous because of that. So the bottom line here is that launching new games is hard, because you need to configure them properly and it's a long and dull process. The eye tracking module is supposed to fix the Variated Rendering issue on the edges, but you'll have to literally cut your headset to install this module, and it's an extra price to pay. And early reports said it worked at 30 FPS, which is not enough for even 5-car XR headset, which operates at 82 FPS. PyTool is a very underdeveloped piece of software, and I can't wait until Pimax releases a proper substitute. Its positioning doesn't correctly work, as it's jumping around my screens like crazy on my computer. It can't correctly update itself to the last version, or get the latest headset firmware. Updates often fail, and each time I had to do it, I was sitting there scared to kill the process because it hanged up. Some options like LCD brightness settings in the software may also be gone and reappear in other versions. It also doesn't allow for turning off for your base stations, meaning they will always work, unless you'll get yourself some smart plugs to disable them to improve their lifespan manually. It is unknown to me why couldn't Pimax bind headset status to service status as Oculus did. I like how the power button feels, but it also is unnecessary on a headset, and it's inconvenient in daily usage if you want to simply start a service, put on your headset and start gaming. And for whatever reason, all headsets but 8KX come with a power brick on the cable, while 8KX can be powered with a second USB port. So you end up with a bulky, ugly cable, which also fails for a lot of people. Speaking of fails, controller's connection is another failure. I made a video about index controllers recently and I strongly recommend you check it out, since I also talk about things that other reviewers don't cover. But I didn't talk about how those controllers lose connection with the headset in this video. This happens because receivers in the headset lacks bandwidth, and if you move your hands too fast, they can't read all the data. This is a killer flaw for games such as Beat Saber, which I play on a high level. Many people complained about it. Some have found a fix. You can purchase a Steam controller dongle and flash it to be a VR controller Watchman. Connecting one controller to it and another to the headset solves the problem. I could even get myself 2 dongles, and having each controller connected to them allows me to switch between 5K XR and 8K Plus seamlessly, without having to pair controllers to another headset. It fixed the tracking loss issue completely. But the important part here is that Pimax ships headsets which are not capable of properly working with index controllers they also sell. And the worst part is, it's almost impossible to get Steam controller dongles nowadays. A substitute community found is 4 times more expensive. Shipping is worldwide, but costs almost like an additional controller. It's just a PCB without any protection. So the bottom line here is that headsets and software are underdeveloped and require a lot of patience and tweaking. Maybe in the future headset revisions they will fix bandwidth problems, but I can't recommend getting a Pimax headset for anyone who wants to play games competitively, because it will just not work. As you may have figured, I am not too fond of Pimax as a hardware or software manufacturer. They break their Kickstarter promises daily. Their Reddit representative removes or doesn't answer to some certain posts and questions, which shows Pimax in a bad light. They stole Revive code for compatibility with Oculus games, and didn't credit the original author, which made him screw their compatibility with Oculus games even further, and Pimax is currently the worst headset to launch Oculus titles on. However, Pimax support is great. They work their asses off to help where they can. They try to fix software issues. They refund part of the headset costs because of flaws in design, which I'll speak about later, or send replacements and accessories. They arranged free headset diagnostics with their local representative in Russia for me, which I couldn't do myself. Pimax support is on par with Amazon support, and I cannot give them enough credit, even though they couldn't solve all my problems. So I've been talking too much about the company and the software. Let's go to the headset's impressions and overview. I ordered 5K XR without any accessories, and it weighed 3 kilograms. When I was unboxing, it stank with cheap plastic, and it showed itself later. It started cracking despite simply laying on a shelf without any usage from my end. I had to cover cracks with epoxy, but I'm afraid that more will come. It's something that was happening to many black headsets and is a great reason for a RMA or partial refund, which I got in addition to the silicone protective sleeve. The plastic is thin and is transparent in infrared light. It was also said that the optical part of the headset is insulated from the outsides, so it's unlikely that dust particles will get onto the screens. The assembly process wasn't convenient and took me some time, but it was intuitive. I like how the head strap is made. It's long and has some cable holders. There is a headphone jack on the left and IPD slider on the right that works in the range of 60 to 73 centimeters. You can also adjust IPD in software, but it doesn't help people with small interpupillary distance. This headset is suitable only for big heads and large eye distances. The facepad is thin, too thin for comfortable usage. My eyelashes are scratching the lens with default facepad. I ordered a thick version from Pimax which cost 20 USD, but I spent 60 USD for delivery in a thin plastic bag, and it's totally not worth it. Pimax already ships with thick facepad, and getting a thin facepad looks like something only an insane person would do. I had to sew onto it a facepad from a VR cover I got for my Oculus Rift, and after that, experience improved drastically. With eye distance adjusted, I was able to appreciate the screen at last. It's only 82 Hz, smaller than on Oculus Rift CV1, but on par with Rift S. It's an OLED display and can be burned, so I advise you to disable Pimax screensaver by removing an image in the Pimax installation directory and disabling Pimax Home for it. If you won't do it, always make sure that you turn the headset off when you stop using it, as it may get damaged by static images with time. Color reproduction on this headset is excellent, and it's perfect for dark horror games or drawing apps like Tilt Brush. However, it has a cheap matrix with a pentile pixel pattern, and the screen door effect on it is very noticeable, especially in white color. And since the pixel grid is visible, 2 green pixels I have are really annoying when seen on the dark backgrounds. If Pimax only could release OLED for native 8K resolution and enable 90 Hz for it, it could be a killer headset for all VR enthusiasts. But considering that the case is cracking over time and the screen door effect is so bad in it, it's a hard device to recommend. Now let's get on to the 8K Plus Vision. I was mostly happy with my 5K XR, but I wanted to get controllers and base stations. Buying them in Russia, where I live, would cost me several months of salary, while Pimax offered headsets with index controllers and secondary vision base stations. Again, if you haven't checked my review of those, I strongly recommend you do it. The headset came in a single box, while base stations were packed to the back of controller's box. This way volume of the package was reduced, but it made this solution look cheap. The headset box and controller's box weighed 5.3 kilograms. Vision headset plastic didn't have the stinky smell 5K XR had. It looks to be thicker and less transparent to infrared light, yet still works well. Pimax claims that blue case headsets will not crack with time, and I have no reason to doubt this statement. There are 2 headphone ports here. Left works with stereo and mono outputs, while right one only works with mono output. You can purchase Oculus Quest headphones and use them with headset for improved comfort. IPD slider on the right also works like on 5K XR, and there is an option of software IPD as well. The head strap is wide but short. Comfort Kit makes it impossible to properly mount the headset on your head, unless you fix it in place with threads. Without this extremely technological solution, there is a chance that it will pop up on head movement. The Comfort Kit itself better insulates lenses from fresh air, meaning the lens gets foggy way faster than on 5K XR. It can be fixed by cutting out the rubber covering your nose. Since the Comfort Kit has gaps for eyeglass wearers, it creates some light bleed on the edges, and it's not a pleasant experience. Comfort Kit plastic also cracked on first removal. It doesn't affect the wearing process, but makes cleaning the facepad harder. During washing with soap and water, it looks like the glue of the facepad goes off, and it looks like the whole foam will have to be replaced by a custom solution with time. The screen of the headset is LCD, working at 110 Hz. Colors aren't as white or as black as at OLED, but it's a great addition to competitive rhythm games, as it lets to improve hit precision. It's really hard to recommend using the headset in any other mode, but it may cause some compatibility issues with slower paced games like No Man's Sky, which tends to crash if the headset screens have higher frame rate. Despite being great for fast-paced games, the screen is terrible for sightseeing or slow games. Since HI is upscaled 1440p image brought to 4K resolution, it looks blurry and blocky. It really kills feeling of immersion if you have time to look at objects. Even upscaling in SteamVR or PyTool doesn't help much with it. With this said, native 1440p resolution at 5K XR looks better for sightseeing games, but I find it easier to aim with iron sights in 8K plus still. It seems like those extra subpixels that are neglected at native 1440p add some information to the brain at upscaled 4K, but it's still not an as pleasant experience as aiming with Oculus Quest or CV1. But since the pixel grid is so dense, it's almost impossible to spot dead or stuck pixels on it if you're unlucky. I also faced an issue with PyTool when I had to restart my computer each time I wanted to use the headset. PyTool just refused to see the headset until OS was restarted. This issue affects some users and looks to be an OS related issue. Although no other application or hardware piece has similar problems on my main computer, the headset can be turned off and on another computer numerous times, and I didn't have to do a single restart. I can recommend this headset to people who want to play fast-paced games without visible screen door effect, and don't mind poor color reproduction as well as potential issues with hand tracking and connection. It's an average headset in terms of quality, but good in terms of fast-paced gameplay and field of view. As I said, after experiencing vast field of view, it's really hard to go back to narrow ones. So that is it. I tried to describe my experience with Pimax as a company and with their products as honestly as possible. If I was wrong about some facts or misinformed my viewers about it, please be sure to post your notes in the comment section. Remember to watch my review of Index controllers if you haven't yet. My name is Sneaky Joe, goodbye, and if you like this video, please perform YouTube routine.